gains that he had made since he became commissioner. Well, again, some people might question, what are these gains that you made while you were commissioner? Can we know some of them? Well, he didn't take time to reel out some of those of his achievements from between 2019 to 2023. Now, he said that the policy framework initiated by him was what led to a steady rise in the internal revenue receipts, which resulted in the IGR that was recently generated by the state and announced by the state government, but went on to say that the figures claimed in the media might not be very correct. Yes, there's some increase in the IGR, but not the figures that were claimed. Now, we all know that last week the governor, meeting talked about how the IGR grew from 11 billion, almost double the what it used to be. And so some people begin to ask, if the former Commissioner for Finance says it is not what was claimed in the media, then he would have given us what the figure is. So yes, there are many questions that you would ask. There are also those who question, why did the government decide to reshuffle the cabinet? Some people say it is a witch hunt. It is for political reasons. It is to try and turn those loyalists. But another sector would say there are many commissioners who are seen as loyalists of the governor. How come all of them were not reshuffled? So it wouldn't make sense, in their opinion, to think that it is a total political witch hunt, as many paint it to be. Let's not forget that we've initially stated that it is within the rights of the government of the day to any time decide to reshuffle its cabinet. We've seen it done with President Tinubu even in recent times, where people who were just recently appointed and then they were fired, and then you get new names, and then you get all of those happened. Why was it not seen as political when it happens there? And why is it seen as political if it happens in Rivers State? Well, some people would say perhaps because we know where the loyalty of some of these people lie, and the situation with the political system in Rivers State. That's why they might have that opinion. Well, all of these and more we will be discussing this morning. The environment these commissioners were working in, were they functioning, especially when you look at their second coming? Some say they were not functioning as they ought to. Permanent secretaries were the ones doing the jobs. Were these commissioners attending the SEC meetings and all the others of the state? Some people said the permanent secretaries were the ones doing the jobs, so the commissioners technically couldn't do anything. There's a lot. My guest is the Commissioner for Information in Rivers State. Will be speaking to us on this, Mr. Joe Johnson. We'll be discussing all of these and more. But if you go on Facebook at Nigeria Info 92.3 PH, a very pertinent question, and I'm asking you now to also tell me, do you see more commissioners resigning in the coming days? There are some who have said, now that these ones have resigned, we hope they would not be asked to come back again, because it would be a second resignation. We hope they would not be asked to come back again. Do you see more commissioners resigning in the coming days? Well, let's find out. Before we get on to my guest, we'll open the phone lines and hear from you. 0817-923-0002. 0817-923-0003 and 0817-923-0007. Let me take those numbers again. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, and 0817-923-0007. Any of these numbers you can call and let us get your opinion on this. Do we see a situation where more commissioners resign? Remember, I've spoken to some of them who have said when at the time they were asked to, or the reports were that they should be reappointed, some of them said whether we were questioning whether they would take the appointment, whether some of them would accept to work under this administration again. That was after they had resigned the first time. And that conversation was held. And in fact, we spoke with one of the commissioners at the time who also had said it's a personal thing. It is for any individual to decide whether or not he would want to continue working with the administration or not. Eventually, it turned out that almost all of them, if not all of them, returned. But now, as it stands, are we going to see them resign again? Let's hear from Ida in Nkoro quickly this morning. Ola is also calling from LML. Let's start with Ida. Ida, good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
They say you are fighting the enemy. Don't go with machete and go with prayer. With governor's prayer, all of them that is not supporting the governor will resign one by one. The governor will attack them. He's a good man. He will shop even in the football. If someone is not playing well, he has to change the person to another position. So that the person can be able to do well. Maybe they are not doing well in their position. That's why the governor changed them. He's not fighting anybody with machete, with prayer. All of them will go one by one. Thank you very much. God bless you.
All right, Ola from LML. The question still remains whether you see more commissioners resigning in the coming days, especially those termed to be loyalists of the FCT minister.
Hello.
Ola, good morning.
Okay, good morning.
Yes.
I think one of the reasons why the commissioner have to resign, I think Kamalu have to resign, I sense some high level of not being loyal to the governor. I don't see how the governor comes to announce that this is what they generate from IGR and he is coming to say it's not correct. Will he have done that under Wiki? Will Wiki have pronounced that we made 5 naira and he will come and say no, it's 2 naira? So when you see his body language, the words that he's saying, contradicting that of the governor, his boss, shows that he was never loyal to him, and that's one of the reasons why I think he needed.
Ola, you haven't responded to the question directly. Do you see more commissioners resigning? That's the question. So I would appreciate that we respond to the question as well before we, make other side opinions that we want to. My guest is now with us in the studio, the Honorable Commissioner for Information, Rivers State, Mr. Joe Johnson. Thank you for coming.
Good morning.
And good morning to you. We'll take some more calls before we come back to you. So let's hear what the opinion of the listener is on this particular issue. Do you foresee more commissioners resigning in the coming days? This would be the second time these ones who have resigned are resigning, and after the first time we had peace agreement and then they were asked to be called back and restated as commissioners, and that happened. 0817-923-0002 0817-923-0003. The WhatsApp number is 0809-030-6416. On Facebook, it is Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. I would also take your comments on WhatsApp. Again, on WhatsApp, 0809-030-6416. So this one here says, I have never seen a state like Rivers State. Some of the youths are just follow. Okay, Rex Nwankwo says, it is unconstitutional to run without an attorney general. Okay. Adindu, selfish interest, nothing more. Tamanos Sisi Loveday says, the loyalists of the FCC minister will resign because they can't serve two masters at the same time. They are constituting distractions to the current administration. The remaining ones should quickly find their blood group immediately because they are... I didn't get what? They are what? Okay. Because I do not get that message. Unfortunately, I can't take it. Sonny from Elele1, good morning.
Stanley, not Sonny.
Oh, Stanley, go ahead.
Yes. If you made the question you asked, I don't think, to me, it's possible that some might still resign. But the question is, are they given the necessary opportunity to serve since they came back this second time? The answer is no. I keep hearing every day that our governor is a good man. Our governor is a good man. If our governor is a good man, what stops him from, reconciling with his boss? If the governor can reconcile with the same people who said no, we won't work with Pobara, the likes of Celeste Nomeha, the likes of Abia Sekebo, they left us when Chief Ian Wike brought Pobara. They said no, that they won't work after working for father, they won't work for son. They left, and today the governor has gone back to them to reconcile with them. If the governor can reconcile with these people who worked against him during the election last year, why can't he reconcile with his political father? The same man who made him, who carried him, he gave him double promotion as a civil servant. We are in this state. Ian Wike made Sim Fubara a permanent secretary. At the same time, he was the accountant general of this state.
All right, Sunday, we have
Because
to go
of
for a
the laws
commercial
we
now.
have for him.
Thank you. Muriel, after the commercial, we'll get back to you. When we come back, my guest would share his thoughts on this. Stay with us.
The show continues after this break on Nigeria Info.
Crossfire continues with my guest, the Commissioner for Information in Rivers State, Mr. Joe Johnson. My name is Ifeemi Andrew. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook so you can watch us live and listen to us as well from wherever you are using our Facebook page, Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. Like the page, get on the live stream, drop your contributions, and importantly, the question we're asking you, whether you see more commissioners resigning in the coming days. Now, let me quickly come to my guest. Honorable Commissioner, thank you once again for joining us.
Good morning.
Even though you didn't get here as early as we hoped, but eventually
The traffic. I don't control the roads.
Okay. So this is the first question I would like to put to you, because a lot of Rivers people have also been asking this particular question following the resignation of the commissioners, and even those that are still serving since they came back the second time. Many of us now term in second term. The working environment that they have, some are of the opinion that they are not being given the environment to allow them function in full capacity as commissioners. Is that correct?
Far from it. That's way out of it. After all, I made contact with you last night that I was going to be on this program. And I'm at liberty to run my ministry the way I deem it fit. And I didn't need to get the opinion of the governor to be here, because I know that, I know the general outlay of my work. So any commissioner who thinks or says is a fallacy of hasty generalization, is to say the least that the person is not saying the full truth, because some people tell you half truth. These commissioners were in the ESCO. They came back in January. We're just in April now. We've had 2 ESCOs and they were there.
Have they been part of the ESCO SEC meeting?
They have. The last ESCO we had on Tuesday last week.
All the commissioners were there?
They were there. The commissioner former commissioner for finance, Isaac Kamal, was actually the one who moved the motion for adjournment, and then cracked a little joke when the governor got to item 7 and said item 7 ordinarily would mean refreshment, and then we had the meeting adjourned, and the only person who wasn't there in the other ESCO was the Attorney General. He was on apology. So we have all had a very wonderful outing.
So how come there's some people who feel that they have the idea that these commissioners, we don't hear much about them, we don't see them talk about what is happening in these various ministries. It seemed not to be, that it used to be that when they first came, but then seemed not to be at that level now. Is there a reason why, or are you saying that if you have said that, of course, they've been given the free hands to operate in full capacity, then are you saying it's a personal decision that perhaps they made not to be as vocal as they were when they first assumed office?
I don't know what you mean by being vocal when they were first.
For instance,
yes, this morning I heard from your studio where the Commissioner for Health was talking about closing 3 health facilities that didn't meet the standards. I'm
referring to those commissioners who attempt to be loyalists to the FCT minister.
I don't know which ones are loyalists to the FCT minister. I know that we are working as a family, and I want to believe strongly that all the commissioners that are on board are at liberty to express, and I'm sure that they are discharging. Good.
Mr. Dango, in his resignation letter, this was what he accused the governor of. He accused the governor of interfering with the performance of his duties by directing him not to defend, oppose, or appear in suits instituted against him and the state government by persons hired and sponsored by the state government. I wouldn't understand what this means, especially when the state government comes in twice. But is this something that has any form of truth in it that we should look at or be concerned about?
Well, this one that you're reading to me and to the general public, in my opinion, would be seeking for unnecessary public sympathy. Otherwise, I know that there's a dictum that says, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. If I pay you, if you hear me, I'm sure the managing director of this place gives you a boundary as to your level of operation. And if he says, don't do this one, Kala Dokubo may take from here to the other place, I don't think that is what you would call interference. And if there was anything like that, why didn't you raise any alarm up until yesterday when you said you were not going to the new assignment?
Possibly concerned that, if I'm still working and I raise this alarm, it might not be...
No. We have a platform. We come to State Executive Council. He was there last week, Tuesday. He should have just gotten up to say, Excellency, I'm disappointed that you have given me an instruction to do this, that, and that. And I'm sure His Excellency will be able to offer an explanation as to whatever. But to wait until something happens, he's a lawyer. He should know what we call afterthought. It's not anything to do with it. The white populists are convinced that the reason why they decided to leave was because they were reassigned. If they were not reassigned, I'm sure they would not have raised it. And that's what they call, there's a word in Latin they call infra dignitatem. Is to act beneath dignity. I would have expected that they should have gone into a freeze zone, a freeze mode. Just resign. You have an assignment. You have been reassigned, which is not alien. This is not the first time commissioners are juggled. So you cannot just say, oh, because your preference was to be here. If he's talking about being a lawyer, Chris Green is a lawyer. He has the Ministry of Sports. And if the governor says, come and work with me in governor's office, I think it's more dignified.
Because this is the question. There were people who were excited at that news when it came. That was 2 days ago. It was yesterday. Was the resignation. It seems as though the governor is trying to get people who are seen as loyalists of the FCT minister closer to him. I mean, bringing somebody into the government office governor's office is something huge. And people who had that opinion and felt like, should the governor be doing this? Is it not risky? Especially for those Rivers people who are concerned following the political fractions that we have. So then it was quite shocking to then see that, the resignation was coming and these comments were made. It wasn't the only one. Isaac Kamalo, the former commissioner for finance, also had certain comments that he made, especially with regards to the IGR, because we've heard the governor talk about how the IGR doubled even over just in his 1 year, about 1 year in office. And this was what he said about it, that, his own excuse was the peace intervention that came as a result of the president bringing the parties together at the peak of the crisis in Abuja, that we came out where the resolution came out from, the 8-point resolution. He said he expected that the efforts made for that peace would be sustained, but then regretted that the peace had remained out of reach. He said the inability to sustain the peace affected his ability to protect and defend his gains since he became a commissioner. He also read out his achievements, and one of them was the policy framework initiated by him, which led to a steady rise in the IGR, which resulted in what we have generated presently, although he said not the figures that were claimed in the media. So, is this something that was discussed at SEC? Did he during the segment, you said he was there when these announcements were made, when the governor was even talking about how much. So was there an objection, or was that who presented those facts to the governor? Why are we hearing this from him now as a former commissioner?
All these ones are medicine after death. You know why? I'm saying it because there's another thing they call fallacy of hasty generalization. I don't want us to belabor their resignation because the state.
No, not the resignation per se, but the reasons that were cited.
The two people are talking. The governor has said, and who is the final authority, that this is where we are now, that he had to rejig our internally generated. And the facts on ground clearly show that we have a project of 80 billion, the Elele Omoku Road. From there, from our internally generated, what we have been able to save, we will pay from our internally generated to the tune of 50% of the contract worth. We have also done the same thing on the recently awarded Okenia Obogoro Road. We are going to pay also from our IGR because of the rise in our IGR. We have paid civil servants. We have given Christmas bonus. We have done quite a number of human angle welfare things to civil servants who truly deserve them. We have projects that are running. We are not borrowing money because we have been able to rejig our IGR. Isaac has acknowledged in his writing that there is an increase. His only difference is that the quantum of what the governor is saying and what he thinks are the only difference. But I put it to him that I would have expected that you should have put a finger on how much or what percentage of rise that he has experienced if truly he was on his desk. And don't forget that he's Commissioner for Finance. The governor had been Accountant General of the state and had gone through some of the wrongs, all that we have experienced up to today. And he is the Chief accounting officer. So if he says, this is where we are, whose report would you follow?
Interesting. But would come to perhaps reasons behind the reshuffling. Some people have their own opinions about it. There are those who think that it was done for political reasons. There are those who think that, well, it's targeted at...
there's no other reason.
But then, technically, we have to also establish that it is within the rights of the government at any time to reshuffle.
Very correct. Very correct. And when you are reassigned, it's for optimum performance. Was
it that they were lacking in the office they were currently heading, the ministry they were heading, or the office they were heading, and there were some flaws that were seen and stated during maybe SEC meeting, or this message was passed across to them, and then hence the...
I do not have any reason to say that it was because they were not performing. I do not have any of such reasons. But if you are reassigned, I'm sure that there are some of you here, because you have the Wazobia, you have the Cool FM, you have if they move FEMI from here to Cool FM, does it really mean in the minds of people that if FEMI is underperforming? If a governor decides and is within his rights, it's discretionary to... When we were screened as commissioners, I didn't know I was going to be commissioner for information. We were screened as commissioners designate, and after that, portfolios are assigned to you. You could also be reassigned. I would have found it, more dignifying to even be made commissioner for special duties, because you're going to be working in the office of the governor, just like the minister for special duties. You must be minister for special duties if you are close to the governor, because that's somebody in his cabinet. That's the governor's inner cabinet. So I didn't see it as anything to mean that it is meant to do for whatever reasons that they have adduced. All these public opinions are unnecessary. You have a right to resign. The governor has a right to sack you. So if you are resigned or Joe Johnson is sacked tomorrow, is it any news? The commissioners have been sacked. There were commissioners who resigned even in the last dispensation.
Yeah, but then, like
Dr.
I said...
Austin Tam George resigned as commissioner for information. At least he was my predecessor. So it tells you that anybody can go. Anybody can come in.
But the point is, for the conversation, isn't really about the resignation, but what they stated to be the reasons.
They are shadow boxing. The reason, the obvious reason, and I'm sure if I take the public opinion to mean anything, it means that they resigned just because they were reassigned. They resigned because they were reassigned. That's all.
All right, let's take some calls and get to hear from our listener. Do you see more commissioners resigning in the nearest future? That's something I would also want you to respond to.
I'm not a mind reader, and I don't have the clairvoyance to know who will resign. Do you know if I'm going to resign after this?
Exactly the point.
I can resign now.
You might give us that hint.
There may be a health challenge that could just compel me to leave.
You could give us an exclusive.
My eyes have been a real challenge. I'm doing this work. I need to strain my eyes. So if I go back now and I say, Your Excellency, I may not for health reason. It's personal. So anybody can resign. Anybody could be appointed. So it's not any big deal.
Let's hear what the listeners have to say. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, and 0817-923-0007. On WhatsApp, this one says entitlement and disloyalty is what is wrong with some of these commissioners. They are appointees and not constitutionally elected. If I'm the governor, I will sack and institute criminal offenses on them. George, from you. Kelvin Frank says the transparency level of the governor made it uncomfortable for both commissioners, especially the commissioner for finance. The issue is that the governor cannot continue to entrust key positions to household enemies. They know themselves that they were working contrary to the governor's aspirations. Kelvin, that's from you. We go over to Omuma now. Jude is on the line. Quickly, Jude, respond to the question and just go straight to your contribution.
My response is on the reason given by Isaac Kamal for his resignation. He said that the governor backed down on the agreement reached with the president. But let me remind him and remind everyone else, the president does not have that power to tell the governor, to direct the governor what to do and how to go about it. The governors do not report directly to the president. The Constitution does not give the president that power. So saying he backed out is wrong. Now, when we talk of peace, I tell everyone too that you do not look for peace. What we look for is justice. Peace will simply walk in or come by. So President and anyone else, what should be looking for is justice. Is there any justice in telling the governor to reappoint commissioners who will fully resign? The answer is no. Now, coming to Isaac Kamalo, the Adango. Adango said the governor took away the jobs he should have done in management or leadership. If you impose anybody on me that is not loyal, I will make you redundant. The duties that you should have done, because you are imposed on me, you are not loyal. I make you redundant. You'll be there to earn your salary, and that's the right thing the governor has done. So the resignation, I guess more people should even resign because they are all imposters. They are imposed on the governor. He didn't hire them, and the president doesn't have that right.
All right, Jude.
All the commissioners that were imposed on the governor should all resign so we can have peace in Rivers State. When we have justice, peace will just walk in.
All right, let's go to Mufasa calling from NTA Road. Morning,
yeah,
Mufasa.
Hi, Andrew. Good morning.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Tenibo.
Good morning, my brother.
Well, let me quickly say that, like what the commissioner has rightly said, that reshuffling is a prerogative of the governor. And if these commissioners would just resign because, they were reshuffled to another ministry, that begs to question the character of these gentlemen. You cannot be having a sense of entitlement just because you feel that where you are, you can just be there to sabotage, the governor. Because if you are saying today that because you have been reshuffled, you can no longer serve in the administration, then there is something these people they are not telling us. But Andrew, to answer your question, well, if there are other commissioners who feel that where they are today, they cannot be reassigned, then for me, they have no business being in government. The governor, in his own wisdom, I said, come and work in this other ministry, and you are coming out to begin to, whip up sentiment and begin to lament here and there. It is inconsequential as far as I'm concerned. And like the commissioner said, I do not see anything why they should even be making a fuss about it in the first instance. Just resign quietly and go, and the government continues. That's my position this morning. Have a nice day.
Leighton Barry is calling from Bori. Good morning.
Good morning, Nikki, Andrew.
Yeah.
Good morning to your guest.
Good morning.
Yes. My own is just a question on the IGR and the payment of minimum wage to workers. I want to ask, because the commissioner there stated some things which I cannot point out all now, but let me just dwell on one or two. That he said the commissioner for finance said all these were all his initiative that makes the IGR to increase, to gain momentum. And I said, is it not that these commissioners, were they not in the administration of the former governor of Rivers State, which is the ex-city minister now, which then the former governor did not pay minimum wage to workers, and the IGR did not increase to this level? Why is it now that in the time of Governor Fobra has been able to pay minimum wage to workers, and the IGR keep improving, and it did not initiate that idea for the former governor administration to gain this momentum, both the financial sector and the minimum wage? Why is it that he did not initiate that idea then for the former governor to have paid all this responsibility to those who deserve it?
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Leighton Barry, thank you. Uche Ken is in the chair. We'll come back to my guest shortly to respond to your questions and contributions. But Uche Ken,
yes, Andrew,
good morning. Yes.
On the basis of the reason behind the resignation, according to the commissioner, I believe I quite disagree with him, because we read out some of their reasons. The reason from commission, what did they call him? Former commissioner of justice. Sorry, he said the governor have never allowed him perform his duty. Then my question is, even in this new office reassigned to him, will he also be allowed to carry out his functions in that office? I believe these questions put together, if you ask me, was one of the reasons why he decided that if I was not able to allow to carry out my duty or functions, then reassigning me to another office will also look the same. So the best thing is to resign. And let me say this. For those of them saying they are not loyal, they are loyal to the FCT minister. Andrew, since they resigned and they were also reappointed, have you ever seen governor send them for an errand? Have governor sent them to represent him in any of the activities? He should have done that first to indicate or to notice their loyalty or disloyalty to him. But rather, he kept them mute. How would you ask a person who has not talked or who has not spoken that his mouth is smelling? I believe we are getting it wrong. And when you say they are not loyal to the governor, is the governor loyal to the system that brought him? We should look the way we balance all these things.
All right.
Someone from somewhere, about 13 governors came out and were aspirants. And only one person was chosen. Others were asked to step down. And nobody is saying about that. I beg, let me.
All right, it's okay. Thank you very much. Well, let's come back to you, Honorable Commissioner. You heard some of them. But I think we have about 5 minutes or less than that for you to respond.
I want to say that, let me take my sister Uche Ken. That's what they call subject of intersubjectivity. We operate a system where everybody has a free hand. All the 9 commissioners that came back. There is a committee that is headed by the Commissioner for Environment, is one of those who came back. And in that committee, the housing commissioner is a member, and 3 other members who are also returnees. They are handling the land grabbing issue that is ravaging the whole of Echie and then some parts of the state. And the commissioners have been up and running. They have quite a number of things that they have done. The only thing, and I have continued to say, is that these two commissioners who left, if there was anything as they have alleged, this would have not been the best time. They should have just gone into a freeze mode and honorably leave the same way they have just left, rather than seek for public sympathy. Nobody's talking about loyalty. What we're doing is service to the state. And let me also say that a manager gets his job done through others. The job we're all doing is the job of the governor. Everything I say here, in the opinion of those who can discern, will feel that I'm speaking the position of government. It means that I'm talking for the governor. Governor also talks for himself most times. You find governor on air. You find governor doing a few other things. He goes to road projects, he commissions roads and all those. These are things that have appendages with works and the other spheres of our So anybody who feels that my governor told me not to do this, yes, everybody that is an appointee has a jurisdiction. If the governor says, don't do this, I will do that. It means that the governor is taking part of his job from you while doing the governor's job. So there's no one that is called the job of Commissioner for Finance. Governor gave an account that Public Accounts Committee that came from National Assembly told them, look, I have been able to rejig. Somebody asked the question, why didn't he apply this principle that is claiming now? Why didn't he apply it? Because he was Commissioner for Finance in the last regime. Isaac Kamalu was Commissioner of Finance in the last regime. He was reappointed Commissioner for Finance. How come the governor now, who has rejigged, he wants to take the credit? He shouldn't take the glory. He should leave it to God.
Well, there talks about, possibly they were sabotaging, or they're not in alignment with the government. It could be sabotaging the government, hence why we see how the commissioners, or the reshuffling and all. Is there any of such thing that's been reported or seen or suspected or mentioned?
I have no knowledge. I'll say the ones that I know. To the best of my knowledge, there's no law of lost except to say that they were reassigned.
Okay.
They were reassigned and then they decided to...
Right. And in few seconds, also a question that came about the governor not backing down on the peace agreement that was signed.
Far from it, the governor has been up and running with that peace accord. And the governor respects the precedent. In fact, if you had listened to one of his speeches, he said he was doing all that because of the respect he had for the president. Otherwise, he was not obligated. There was no reason to be bound by it, and that there was nothing too high or too much for peace to reign, and that he's doing all that in the interest of peace.
All right.
So how else would anybody? How can Isaac tie down even to his reasons for living? He shouldn't have left. There's no reason to say peace accord and finance and all that. So that we don't.
We have to take a commercial now.
Stay with us. Nigeria Info. We'll be back.
Across the bridge.
Back to wrap things up with my guest, the Honorable Commissioner for Information, Rivers State, Mr. Joe Johnson. Quickly, okay, let me just touch a few messages extra on Facebook. So those who are loyal to the FCT minister, some of them would resign. They need to, so we have peace and allow the governor work. On WhatsApp, this one says more resignation is likely to come because those serving the interest of one man somewhere are against the interest of Rivers people. Confidence and Magbo, that's a message from you. What would be your words to Rivers people now in response to all of these?
Just to assure Rivers people that the governor is out to do everything that would better the lots of Rivers people, and to say that yes, we have some roads being done, but more of what will impact more on the lives of our people will be the governor's main target, and that has been his projection.
Right.
Yes.
Definitely some other time would have you and discuss more on what projects the government is working on, and especially human capital development and what the plans are on ground with regards to that, and agriculture, of course. Very important.
Will be key. Agri will be key, and I'm assuring you that when I appear again, I'll give you a compendium of what we have lined up for the agri sector.
All right, let's take the news at 9 is next. Afterwards, you'd have Hello Port Harcourt with Jude. My name is Ifeemi Andrew. Good morning.